We have a Patreon, Ian.
We do.
How do you access that Patreon?
Go to patreon.com/CU podcast. You look around.
You look around. You
open up your wallet.
You put on your VR headset. You look around.
You open up your wallet.
Hey, there's an Ian writing.
You open up your wallet and you go, "Ugh. I got some money here that I can give these chaps." And then in return, we have things like weekly writings. One should be going up today or tomorrow. It's written.
Tomorrow I'll schedule for.
Goes up tomorrow.
I like scheduling for Wednesday for some reason.
That's Pat for you. Big old Wednesdays.
Wednesday's the best day of the week. Sorry, go on.
I think you have a lot of people argue that.
Tuesday's the worst. Even before the podcast, Tuesday was always the worst day of the week. All right, anyway, go on.
Anyway, we do poll topics. Full video podcast is up there.
Yes.
We do a hangout. I'm doing one this Saturday, 11 a.m.
Okay, I gotta put that up in that post. But here's our poll topic this week.
Yeah.
And second and third place, pretty close. People liked our selections this week. In third place, would the value of complete in-box NES games be different now had they used plastic cases? Only 21%. In second place, deep dive discussion, 24%. And in first place, games that you enjoy playing that everyone else seems to hate.
I have a good number of them. Most of them are...
Hate's a strong word.
Most of them are older games. But two for the Nintendo. Pat probably knows which ones that I'm going to say. That I very much enjoy playing from time to time. That no one, I think, in their right mind truly enjoys. Tom Sawyer. Tom Sawyer, I think, is arguable. The Adventures of Tom Sawyer. I think that one's debatable. It's a very hard, very simple game.
You gave it 3 stars.
Based on pattern memorization. It's pure. I love it, and I stand by those 3 stars, but I know a lot of people who have played it, and they're like, I don't know so much about that. Wally Bear and the No Gang, however, is a game that I fucking love. And part of it is, it's a little, funny, a little tongue-in-cheek, the old anti-drug messaging. But
do people hate Wally Bear and the No Gang now?
It
was an AVGN video way back in the day.
Yeah.
People didn't know about it.
The game is incredibly rough around the edges. The control is not very good. It's not what I would call a well-made game, but it also it scratches the itch I have for games where you have like one hit or one life. Tom Sawyer is similar. You can die very quickly in Tom Sawyer. And you just have to get through the levels. Memorization and perseverance and just learning the weird programming that goes into it to like try to figure out how is this Frisbee going to whip across the stage out of nowhere this time? What am I going to have to avoid? I like playing games like that, even ones that are not particularly well made. As far as more modern stuff goes, I was actually I'm not a big first-person shooter fan, but I was actually a pretty big fan of the first-person shooter Brink that Bethesda put out on the 360 and PlayStation 3. It was an objective-based first-person shooter with teams. Each person that you picked would play a little bit differently, so it wasn't quite like a Team Fortress or an Overwatch, but it had similarities. It was brightly colored, something that later drew me into Overwatch. It had some interesting parkour elements that made moving around and moving around the battlefield fun. It just never took off. It did not do well. It was reviewed mediocrely. It did not have a lot of content at the beginning of it, which I think hurt it. So it was quickly abandoned. But I enjoyed it. I genuinely enjoyed that game.
I'm looking at certain NES guide app and just looking at any game below 2.5 stars. That's basically what I'm going to go off of here. I did not give it a good review. It's not a shooter. Back to the Future. I enjoy Back to the Future on the NES. I enjoy it. It's not a good game. I enjoy playing it for some reason. I enjoy the rhythm you get.
Yes, it's the rhythm
and
you
the
get
walking,
into.
and it's very challenging. There are points where you have to play perfectly, especially if you don't have the bowling ball. I like that. The mini games are interesting. They're semi broken, the mini games, but the fact that I like mixing it up. Otherwise, how can you play this stupid game without the mini games? I love the soda mini game, the heart, collecting the hearts. I don't do as well with the on stage with the guitar. I usually don't do as well. And the last mini game in DeLorean is hell on earth. It's like, it seems random with the lightning strikes, but I like the game for what it is. I like that game. And
Sure.
a lot of people don't.
I don't like it, but I get it, and that's what goes back to something like Wally Bear, which I think is a better example, because I did not give that one a good review.
I gave it 2 stars, and the users is a 1.5, so I'm not far off from the user base on the app, at least for that one.
But all I'm getting is I get it, and I think you nailed it when you said rhythm. There's a lot of old games that may not be particularly well made, but if I've played them enough to get into a rhythm, or if I can get into a rhythm with them, and I see some semblance of logic working in the game somewhere,
there's a logic to Back to the Future.
Then I can play it, and I can probably enjoy it and have a better time with it than most people do.
And for something like Wally Bear, obviously the game, the Color Dreams and Wisdom Tree, obviously the gameplay was trash. They knew that. So let's just do a wacky story.
But it actually felt tighter than some of the other stuff. Like a lot of their stuff, that's another reason why I give it credit. It's not a good game, but it at least functions more or less properly.
But it looks like a game still, and it has a story. It has a pastiche that's unique, and it has the music is memorable, kind of.
Yeah, dude. Sorry, it's in my head.
There's a charm to some of those games, even though they're not good games. There's a charm to them. They worked with what they had. Yeah. They're not totally abysmal, some of them. Like Action 2 is just an abomination.
Wally Bear is a bad game, and Raid 2020 is a bad game, but Wally Bear is playable, whereas Raid 2020 is a fucking mess.
Yeah, that's true. But Raid 2020 is like the bottom of the barrel.
It's so bad. It's
like, well, no, Deathbots is bad too. Deathbots is pretty bad.
Deathbots is bad. These are games that I like to point to when people are like, "UT's the worst game ever." I'm like, it's not.
No, it's not.
It was a good idea, poorly executed. It's fine. You can play it. You can play it and beat it if you try hard enough. And sure, you can say that about Raid 2020 as well. But
you know what? I like Platoon. It's not a good game. I like Platoon on the NES. Because I rented it and was horrified by the Viet Cong stabbing me in the face in the first person part when I was 9 years old. Mm-hmm. But that was that was when I always liked, even though it's bad. Rambo, never really played Rambo. I'm just going up NES because I have the app in front of me, and there's no Super Nintendo app yet to go off of. And any Super Genesis ones that you like that everyone else hates? And well, you're a Genesis guy, so.
Well, actually, so I would say that I not Genesis, but I do actually have very fond memories of the Extreme Games game on the PlayStation. That was the launch title. That was a racing game. I don't think anyone has any fond memories of that, or particularly would ever want to go back to it. I do like that. And then as far as games on the Genesis go, I have a slight soft spot for Wolverine's Adamantium Rage, which was a very, very bad LJN.
That's a bad game?
It's not good. The collision is bad, I remember that. But it was the game that my mom bought my brother and I from the supermarket, because the Wegmans used to do video game rentals, and they would occasionally sell their old stuff. And she knew that we were big into X-Men, so she bought it, and we played it. And I was like, this isn't great, but we just kept playing it. And I was like, it's all right. Hudson Hawk on the original Nintendo, too. That game gets trashed. The first level's fun. I can find a lot of fun in some shit games if I need to. So.
Let's see. This has to be off. I just found a bug on that one. I think it's coming up wrong because Hudson Hawk is giving way too many stars on this. I think this is wrong. But I'll check it. I'll check it from the book in a second. You know what? I like it. Okay. I have a love-hate relationship with Akari Warriors. I loved it in the arcade, obviously on the NES.
It's a really fun arcade game.
You want to stab your eyeballs out in the NES, but hey, it's what I had. It's what I liked. There's some weird charm to that game. I just wish it didn't take 5 fucking hours to play that game and get through it. It's extremely difficult on the NES to play that game. I love the top-down running gun shooters like Commando and that. I love that stuff. Now I'm wondering about this one game. I'm not going to say because I don't want to point out an error in the app, but I think this one is coded wrong here. Oh no, it's not. Okay, I'm not going to say what game has a controversial rating in the book. Then a little higher than I would have given that, but okay. It's within their right there. It's actually a game Ian likes. That's not considered a great game. So anyway. Any PC games that would be hated that you like? PC is always a different sort of beast, right?
Yeah, PC was always a different beast. I mean, I played everything that I got fucking handed to on the PC, and I liked most of it. So
Wacky Races.
Oh, I played that on fucking line.
Did you really?
Yeah, the host and slave like modem. I did 2-player with my friend. Just called from our dial-up to his and played online.
My Mad Ball fell down. My Mad Ball. I have 2 of them. Remember them? Did you have any Mad Balls as a kid?
Mm-mm.
You didn't have any balls? So anyway, all right. Anything else? We miss any? I'm trying to think of any big ones I missed. Rygar. Some people hate Rygar for some reason. I think that it's the people that hate Rygar really haven't really played it to understand what exactly is in that game and how, for the time, it's better than most of the NES games that came out at the time.
I also feel like the same thing could be said about one that I actually like on the NES that it seems to be 50-50. Fester's Quest. It's one of those games where it's good, but I think a lot of people play it a couple of times and get immediately frustrated because it's hard at the beginning and you don't know what you're doing. But if you can play for a little bit, start getting some items and some power-ups, Fester's Quest is actually a pretty fun game.
I got to the last guy in Rygar when I was like 8 years old. So I mean, that's one reason why I probably needed glasses. But like, if I figured it out when I was 8, you can figure it out now. It just takes.
Sure.
You got to read the manual, of course. You got to get the clues from the guys with the big white the bald guys with the big white beards.
Yep.
And you just gotta get through it. I think when it goes back to being forced to play what you have, you figure it out. You figure it out.
Some games might come at you a little hard or a little harsh, and I think a lot of games, like I said, I think Fester's Quest and sure Rygar are good examples of that. If you had a bunch of games, or if this wasn't a game you had as a kid, yeah, you probably gave up on it. But if it was just sitting there, and you're sitting there in the afternoon, and you're staring at this freaking game, there's nothing else to do, and none of your friends can come out and play, you're like, fine, let's just give this another go. And you realize that it's really not bad once you start playing it by its own rules.
Sure. And of course, no one hates Danny Sullivan's Indie Heat. I'd stab him in the neck with a pen. So it's a great game. Great game. As I look at the box,
it is, but off-road is better.
I'm looking at the Danny signed copy I have right there. Did I ever show the Danny signed copy from Portland a few years ago? It's worth its weight in gold. Put that up, water grade that. Put that up on Heritage Auction, go for $1 million.